In the heart of medieval Iraq, a man stood before a crowd of enslaved laborers, his voice cutting through the night like a blade. His name was Ali ibn Muhammad. Some claimed he was a prophet, a nobleman, and scholar well versed in the teachings of Islam. Others whispered that he was an opportunist, a fraudster, and a man who saw the suffering of the Zanj and turned it into a cause. But to the thousands of enslaved Africans toiling in the salt marshes of Basra, he was something more. He was their hope. With fire in his eyes, he spoke of freedom, not just escape, but a war that would bring their oppressors to their knees. He promised them a land of their own, where no man would be forced to break his back for another. And in 869 AD, under the cover of darkness, the first flames of rebellion were lit. For 15 years, this uprising would rage, shaking the Abbasid Caliphate to its core. Cities would fall, armies would break, and for a moment in time, an empire would tremble before an army of the enslaved. Yet, history has buried this story. Why? Why is the Zanj Rebellion, one of the largest and longest slave uprisings in world history, barely mentioned in textbooks? Stay with me, because today we uncover a forgotten war that nearly changed history. To understand the rebellion, we must travel further back, across the Indian Ocean to the Swahili coast of East Africa. The word Zanj was an Arabic term used for Bantu-speaking peoples from the regions of modern-day Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique. For centuries, Arab traders had captured or purchased these people and transported them across the Indian Ocean, supplying enslaved labor to the Islamic world. Unlike the transatlantic slave trade that would come centuries later, the Indian Ocean slave trade was older, stretching back to at least the 7th century. The Abbasid Caliphate, one of the most powerful empires of its time, relied heavily on enslaved Africans for labor, especially in the salt marshes of Basra, where thousands of Zanj men worked under brutal conditions. Imagine standing knee-deep in salt water for hours, under the scorching sun, with wounds from overseers' whips burning against your skin. This was life for the Zanj. And for their Abbasid overlords, these men were disposable, until the day they decided they weren't. Before leading the Zanj, Ali ibn Muhammad had a complex history. Born in Persia, he was well educated, fluent in Arabic and Persian, and had studied the intricacies of Abbasid politics. Some sources suggest he had previously attempted uprisings in Bahrain and Persia, but failed. But when he arrived in Basra, he saw something different. The Zanj were strong, numerous, and had a burning resentment against their oppressors. He saw potential. Ali ibn Muhammad began speaking to them in secret, spreading a message of revolution. He promised not just freedom, but revenge. He painted a vision of a new society where the Zanj would rule themselves, free from the chains of their masters. By September 869 AD, the first attack was launched. It started as a raid on plantations, freeing enslaved workers and setting fire to estates. But soon, the movement grew. More enslaved people joined. The attacks became bolder. And then, in a move that shocked the Abbasid rulers, they built an army. Ali ibn Muhammad didn't just want rebellion, he wanted power. He trained his warriors in guerrilla tactics, using the marshes and riverways to launch hit-and-run attacks. Within a year, the Zanj controlled vast territories in southern Iraq. But they didn't stop there. By 871 AD, they captured the city of Al-Ubula, a major trading hub. The Abbasids were now fully aware of the danger, but still, they underestimated the rebellion. In 872 AD, the Zanj seized Basra itself. Yes, Basra, the second largest city in Iraq, had fallen into the hands of former slaves. To solidify their rule, Ali ibn Muhammad declared himself imam and ruler, setting up a capital city called Al-Mukhtara, the Chosen One, near the Tigris River. For a brief moment, the Zanj had their own kingdom. The Abbasid Caliph at the time, Al-Mu'tamid, could no longer ignore the threat. His empire was bleeding economically. The salt marshes, plantations, and trade routes were in flames. In 879 AD, he sent his most elite general, Al-Muwaffaq, to crush the rebellion. What followed was 4 years of brutal war. The Abbasids laid siege to Al-Mukhtara. The Zanj fought with valor and fury, defending their stronghold, but frustration, starvation, and disease began to take their toll. In 883 AD, after 15 years of war, the Abbasid forces finally broke through. Ali ibn Muhammad was captured and executed. The rebellion was over. Though the Zanj were ultimately defeated, their rebellion stands as one of the most significant and enduring slave uprisings in history. It wasn't just a revolt, it was a war that nearly toppled an empire. And yet, why is this story barely known today? Why don't we hear about the Zanj Rebellion the way we hear about Spartacus, Nat Turner, or the Haitian Revolution? Was it erased from history because it challenged the idea that slavery was an unbreakable system? Or because it revealed that enslaved people were not just victims, but warriors, strategists, soldiers, and revolutionaries? Now I want to hear from you. Why do you think the Zanj Rebellion isn't widely talked about? Could the Zanj have actually overthrown the Abbasid Caliphate if they had better weapons or allies? What other forgotten revolts deserve more attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation alive. If you enjoyed this deep dive into lost history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Native Historian, and turn on notifications so you never miss another untold story.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.